Today's guest is David Oakford. David is the author of the book Soul Bared, which details his near-death experience caused by a fatal drug overdose in 1979. During his NDE, he was rescued by his guardian angel. He was shown life after death realms and more. David, thank you very much for being my guest. I really appreciate you and welcome.
You're welcome. Glad to be here. Well, what happened to me was I was 19 years old. It was in 1979, and I was pretty much a stupid kid. I grew up in a neighborhood that wasn't quite the best, and I hang out with a bunch of guys that weren't quite the best, and we were pretty much what the gang of the neighborhood was. And I hung out with those guys, and we ended up all through our lives. We just ended up moving into drinking and drugging and all that kind of stuff. And I got to a point where I was sick of that, and I didn't want to do it anymore. But so I was going to leave. I was just going to leave town. I didn't even have a driver's license, a car, or anything like that. But I was still going to leave, right? I've saved up money, everything. And then I thought, well, I'll have one more party with my friends, just one more time. And then after that, I'm going to leave. So I partied with these guys all day. We were drinking beer and stuff. And then later on in the night, wanted something that was a little more for the night, for the evening, and friend went out and he got me this stuff. He said it was some kind of cocaine. I guess it was crack cocaine. I didn't know it then. It was 1979. I didn't even hear crack cocaine then, but it was some kind of cocaine. So I thought, and it was a rock. It looked like, I've seen pictures of crack online. It looked like a brown rock. What I did was I crushed it up, thinking it's cocaine, crushed it up, snorted it. Well, snorted crack cocaine. My friend that got it for me came back and said, what did you do? And I told him, he says, no, it's not what you're supposed to do. You'll be lucky if you live. Well, after that, I just said, I blew it off. I said, no, I'm an invincible team. Nothing's going to, no. So went outside. We drank some more beer out on the porch. I was standing around out there, and it got so that I didn't feel right standing. So I sat down because I was getting a little woozy, and then I ended up passing out on the lawn in front of the house. And I was about like 3 houses down from my parents' house. They were sitting on their front porch. They could, they didn't even know what was going on. And ended up, I woke up in this chair inside the house. And it was this big family room was there, and it had all kinds of furniture and stuff in there, and stereo and everything. And I woke up in the chair, and I didn't know what was going on. I started to, heard this song, this like melody or like a harmony tone coming from my body, and it was all different tones. And I could hear each one of them, and then all of them all together at the same time. And I didn't know what that was. I was trying to figure it out, but then everything started to go away. Each part started to go away. And then there was silence. I heard my heartbeat, and then it stopped. And I didn't know what to think then. And then music started playing. It was Doors music. It was really, really loud, and I couldn't take it. It was just like it was cutting through me. I didn't know what to do. So I tried to find my friends in the house. I'm thinking I'm running through the house trying to find them, and I didn't see any of my friends in there or anything. This music was just blasting right through me. I got scared. So I went to try to turn the music down. I couldn't touch the volume knob, and I couldn't unplug it or anything. And it was just tearing through me, and I didn't know what to do. And I got really scared, and I went around into the house more trying to find them. I couldn't find anybody. And then I went into the family room, came back into the family room, and I saw my body sitting in the chair. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? How can this be? And I'm in 2 places at once. But I'd rather be here, the spirit me, not my body me. I was kind of glad I wasn't in it. I didn't like it, anything like that. So I got scared, tried to run away. I tried to go out the door, tried to grab the doorknob and turn it to go out, and I couldn't touch it. I couldn't go out. And I was just really, really scared, running around. And then I thought, well, what am I going to do? I got to do something here. So I prayed. Went to a religious school for 7th and 8th grade. I wasn't really religious. My parents made me go there, that kind of thing. But I knew about prayer, and I believed in prayer. So I thought, well, why don't I pray to God to help me? He's probably the only one who can. So I prayed to God to help me. And the next thing I know, I'm looking over by the doorway, and I'm seeing this spirit being standing there. It's just like me standing. I didn't have feet that blended into that was on the ground. They just kind of blended in. And same thing, he was floating the same way. And he asked me, he said that I'm here to help you. And then I said, oh, okay, well, who are you? And he said, well, I know you. And he started telling me stuff about that I thought about when I was a kid. Like he told me about my father that I had, and my mom and dad's divorce and everything, and what happened when I was 4 years old, and what I thought about when I went to bed. I mean, he knew everything about me. And I thought for a moment, I thought about, well, what if he's like the devil or something? What, he can masquerade this, what I hear anyway, And I asked him about it. He said, "Oh, that stuff is not for you. None of the negative stuff is for you. How you can tell if it's for you or not is if it's negative toward anyone, or if it's simply for just that one person, then you might not want to interact with them." And he told me about that, and then he told me that I could go anywhere that I wanted to go. And I said, well, I can't even get out the door. He said, no, come with me. Think, come with me. Trust me. Think about me and trust me. And then we were outside. We just kind of went through the house and went outside. And then he said that I could go anywhere that I wanted to go, and I didn't know where I wanted to go. So I thought about, the pyramids or wonders of the world is what I want to see. And he said, well, there's two different kinds. There's the natural wonders, and then there's the man-made wonders. He said, I'll show you two. And and he said, pick one. So I wanted to see Egypt. I want to see the pyramids. And I thought about it. I trusted him, and boom, we were there. Just in a second, we were there. And I saw the pyramids and everything as they were back in the ancient times. And I saw the city as it is in the present times. And there were souls on each side of it. And I was a soul in the ancient Egypt part. And what I was looking at myself in the ancient Egypt part from the present, or whatever you want to call it. And I was shown that I did something. I was a kid and I did something. I ran my mouth. I did something, and I ended up getting a whole bunch of people in trouble, and a whole bunch of people died. Well, Bob, the spirit being that helped me, I'm going to call him Bob just so I can call him something that's easier to tell the story. He told me that, yeah, I did do something, and I asked him, he wouldn't tell me what it was. He said that it would be bad for me in my life now if I knew what happened then. He said it would affect my path, and he doesn't want that to affect my path. So okay. So he said some stuff about the pyramids and why they were built and what they can do and everything that having to do with the energy of the planet. Well, after the pyramids and everything, after he told me this stuff, we went to. I wanted to leave and go see the rest of whatever else that I could see. And he said, sure, we can go. So we left and we flew over the Pacific Ocean, and he showed me that there were places in the ocean that are like vortexes that have energy coming out of them and going into them from the universe. And there were places like that, and I could see the energies of all the countries in the planet too. I could see that it was like they were auras, is what they were. It was just like colors, and you could see the vibration of them. Some countries, the vibration was higher. Other parts of the country, they were lower. It all depended on how many humans lived there and what kind of cities and what they were. And so we went past and saw all that stuff. And Bob told me that the energy is from the planet. It's what the planet makes. It's what you have. And there's other energies, negative energies, the darker energies for it are from in the cities are from the nature being gone, and there's less nature and a energy, but there is more like human type based, from people. And I said, okay, I didn't know what anything meant. I was just, learning. It was like, what? Okay. So we went to the United States. We went to the Southwest United States, and I could see the energies from there. And there were some energy places in the Southwest too that were these vortex things. And we went and I saw the Grand Canyon. I saw how it was when I was a kid, and it's like it was a real rush when I saw it, because I saw it from above, and I could see the auras and everything, and it was just so pretty. I saw it when I was a kid, but this was like 10 times prettier than when I saw it before, and it was a wow moment. And then we continued on, and we talked about the beings, because we could see other beings there, other beings around in the like, I guess, the dimension that we were in. We could see beings like Bob, and we could see beings like me, and then we could see other beings that weren't like me, that were just Bob told me that they were like lost souls who get stuck in between the earth plane and the higher planes. They get stuck in that plane, and they stay there for a lot of different reasons. So some of them know about the light. They know about the light, but they don't want to go. Other ones know about the light and want to go, but don't know how. There's just things like that they don't know, and they have the energies to them. Like the ones that have energies like me, they were still connected like me. There was a trail going down to where they were coming from. And I think there are probably other experiencers or whatever, just spirits going back and forth as traffic. I'm going to tell you about that more later. I saw that, and and Bob explained to me about how we interact with each other, and how positive and negative makes a big difference in what the energies of we're going to be, and what how things are going to. Our energies, and how we work together, and how that interacts with the planet's energies, and it's the makeup of all the whole thing. And then I wondered about our planet, and what if I could see the energy, the aura from our planet. And Bob said, yeah, we could. So we went out into space. We went out by the moon, and I could see the Earth, and I could see the aura all around it. It was really big. It was mostly blue. It was bigger than what you see in the pictures, from in the pictures these days of the moon or of the Earth. How it's blue. Well, this was like more exaggerated, more blue, and bigger and bigger and bigger. But you could see the dark spots in it. And I was told that the dark spots are the product of us living here, and how we're living in harmony with the planet, or at least we're supposed to be. And it just, you can see the like records from what we've done to it, but it's still awesome. I mean, there's I kind of worried about it, because it's like, we're ruining it. Look how beautiful she is, and I could feel her too, and I could hear her too. She made noise. She made like the same humming sound that my body made. It was like the same thing. It was a part of it, and I was just in awe over the whole thing. Is thinking like, why me? Why me? I still ask that a lot of times. But thought about what to do next. I thought about the stars, and I thought about, well, what about those? And Bob asked me, he said, is there one that you want? Is there one that you want to see? And I said, well, how about that one? I pointed. I said, how about that one? I picked one at random. So we went flying towards that star, and it looked like a star from afar. But we went flying by it, and we flew by the planets that were on the way. And each one of those had their own hum to them and their own there's own energies on them, their auras. And I could see that there were spirits that were living on those planets, each one of them. When we flew by, I could see that. And I asked about it. I asked Bob, I said, how come we can't see them? But we can see them here, but how come we can't see them normally? He said, oh, your vibrations are just too low. Raise your vibrations, you'll be able to see everything. It's like, okay, that's good. Well, so we went past and we got to the star and we looked at this, and I looked at it, and it was like this big circle, and it was a spiral type of a thing. It was spinning, and it had a distinct center that was calm, very calm. And I wanted to go there. I wanted to go through it, and I wanted to go into it. And I told Bob knew. It was like, well, we didn't talk like you and I are talking. It was like, boom, instantaneous thought. I thought he talked, I talked, and nobody heard anything, but we did, But I asked about it. I said, well, who made this? How did this happen? And he said, this is what you're looking at is a portal to another place. And you're not ready to go through the portal. I won't let you go through. I can't either go through. So I said, okay, well, if God made this, then what about everything else? What about like Jesus? What's up with that? And then this being came to us. He was complete white light, all complete white light, and he appeared. He morphed down. He appeared into what I remembered of the Jesus picture that was on the wall in the parochial school that I went to. And so I recognized him as Jesus because that's how he presented himself to me. And then he was only that way for a second. And then he turned back into his white light and he surrounded me. And he said, tell them to love one another and all will be well. Because I was worried about the planet, and he knew I was. And that's all he said to me. That's all. That was it. And then after that, he left. And then I asked Bob. I said, "Well, what was that? How he didn't." Bob said that Jesus was the master vibration entity, and that there are other entities that are just like him. He's like the one that you know. So I said, okay, well. And after Bob left, or after Jesus left, then I saw all of the planets. They were all in a line, and I could see all their auras separately and all together, just like the music. And I also heard the same music that was coming out of my body that was coming from all the planets. Each one had their own little part in it, just like my body did. And that was like the most awesome thing that I ever saw in my entire life. And I hope to see it again, but maybe because I want to go to that portal again. I want to go there and I want to go in it. And so that's one of the things that I want to do, but I couldn't. And then after that, after seeing the planets like that, it's like, wow, what else can there be? And then Bob said, well, there's someplace else I can take you to. And I said, okay, let's go. So we went back, flew past all the planets again, and we got to this point where we were close to the Earth. I could see her. Okay, and I should have told you earlier, Earth has a real name called Gaia. That's what Bob said. Well, we could see her, and then we were at this place. It was kind of sort of like in the clouds. It was a city. It was a big city, and it didn't have any walls or gates or anything like that. And we came down and came down into the square. There was a well there, and there were spirits there doing something with the well. There was this one house that was on my left side, a big building on my right side. And there was a long street in between them that went way as far as I could see. And the buildings, they were white, and they had wood trim on them with plants growing out of the trim. It was like framing it. It was like really pretty, and all the buildings were like that. Well, I went into the little house. We went upstairs. We went up these stairs, and I saw 4 different spirits in the upstairs of that house, and they were all in different rooms. They were concerned that I was there. I didn't know who they were at the time, but they were concerned I was there. And then after that, we came back out of the house. We went across the street, and Bob said that we had to go in there. And it was this big building, and walked inside. There were these double doors to my right that had gold knobs, and to my left there was this wooden bench, and it was the same, and all the wood in there glowed. Everything was like a wood panel. And when I looked forward, when I walked in, there was this big, long hallway that I couldn't see the end of, and there was these different rooms in it. You can see where there's different rooms. A whole bunch of spirits in there doing something. I don't know what they were doing, but they were all in there. And I thought, well, okay, I want to go work in there, And the feeling of the place was like total love. I mean, it was just indescribable. There was no negativity there that I could see. Well, we went in the building. Me and Bob went in there, and Bob told me to sit on the bench. And then he went inside the doors, and he went in there, and he said he'll be right back. He told me, he said, don't worry and don't be afraid. Okay, so he goes in there, and then a little bit later he comes out. But while he was in there, I was sitting on this bench, and I started to remember things from a different life. I started to remember things about Egypt, and I was almost to the point where I was going to find out, and then Bob came out. And he said, you have to go in there. He said, be truthful in there. Don't be afraid. So I went in there. There's this group of beings all in there. There was like 6 or 7 of them. And they were all around this table, this big round table. And I was in the center. It was kind of like in the center on the circle. And they were all like in front of me. Mm-hmm. And there was this space in the center. And I looked around, and I recognized one of the beings that was there. I recognized him, and I was afraid of him for some reason. And I think it had something to do with the Egypt thing, but I was really afraid of him, the one. And then they started to show me my life, and they showed me being born. They showed me, the hospital room and coming out and all that. And then I started to see my life. I saw my parents. Started out with my parents. I had my real father and my mother got divorced when I was like 4 years old. So it started out with him and her, and then that was okay. Everything was okay about that. But then they got a divorce, and my mom moved in and married this other guy who had 5 kids. And I had me and my sister and my brother. We all moved in with them, and we were adopted. Well, we also had this funny uncle. I don't know if you know what the term means, but we had this funny uncle, and he was a big influence on all my life. Okay. I got shown why of a lot of things in my life, why I became the way I've been and became. And this is what started out with him. And I won't go through, it's really personal what it was, but it had to do with sex. And it was, he was a funny uncle, and there's, ramifications for that. And saw that. And then I saw a lot of me and my stepbrother. He's the same age as me. We used to go out and Partners in Crime. It all started with all innocent stuff. Like we, go play at the construction site, go ride our bikes up and down the hills, then it ended up, we got a little older, then it's like, oh, construction sites. Oh, okay. Wow. These survey markers, boom, take them off, did that kind of stuff. Just pulling, the guys, survey markers, they take time to put those in. They're in the right place. And if you move them over or something, then you're going to cause trouble. It went from watching the construction vehicles to playing on the construction vehicles after the guys left for the day. Just stuff like that. That's how everything started. Everything started just so innocent, and then ended up getting all messed up. Just I went from like say, for instance, the schoolyard. I lived right around the corner from the school. Started out in the schoolyard, playing in the schoolyard, playing baseball, pickup baseball game. Kids, 7, 8 years old, we're playing baseball. And then the next thing, oh, it's okay. Well, here, I got some cigarettes. Here, let's smoke some cigarettes and play baseball. So we smoked cigarettes and play baseball. We're cool, And then it got to, well, here, we got this beer. Let's drink beer and play baseball. So we drink beer and play baseball. We're getting older, and all the other kids in the neighborhood that wanted to play in that schoolyard couldn't play in the schoolyard because we were always there, and we'd run them off. It was just stuff like that, and then it grew into. I did stuff like, went out with the guys, and we vandalized something, and then it ended up, then there were stolen cars involved and smashing those up, and all the kinds of, it just, everything just kind of gelled into a big mess. It was just and I saw it, and when I saw it, like when we vandalized something, I got to see whose car we vandalized and how they felt about it. I got to feel that when it happened, and it's just everything hurt. It was just a lot of this. Everything was all negative, and it was all how I became. And I couldn't believe that that's how I was. A lot of the stuff that I saw that I did, I didn't even know I did. I mean, my drinking was really bad, and it was really bad all through, and I was sick, but the life review just basically showed me how everyone felt about what I did to them, and how I felt about things that other people did to me, like the uncle. Okay, well, after they were done, they asked me if I thought that I was more positive or more negative. And I remembered Bob told me not to lie, but I thought about lying. And I was really afraid. And I told him, well, it's more negative, like that. And they said, well, you have to decide what you're going to do then. You can stay here or you can leave, but there's going to be consequences to any decision that you make. And it's up to you. So get out of here and go make your decision. They basically kicked me out of there because I was trying to make my case, because I really wanted to stay. Well, we get out of there, and Bob's out there. We go to this garden, and I asked him, I said, Bob, I don't want to go back. Why should I go back? What am I going to go back to? Look, you see what I left, and he started telling me stuff about my future. He started telling me like, you're the wife that you're going to have is there already. She's waiting for you. You're going to have children. You're going to have lots of children. You're going to have one child that's going to be way different than the others, and he's going to be a challenge for you. They said that I asked them, I was trying to find out when I was going to be going back to the city, because I wanted to go there. I really didn't, I started thinking about why I wanted to stay there. And it was all about me. Like, well, I want to stay there because it feels better. I want to stay there because my life sucked and I don't want to go back. Just everything was all about me. And then Bob told me about the kids and my wife and everything. It's like, well, what about them? Well, what are you doing, Dave? And I thought about it. It's like, well, okay, I'll go back. I was a little reluctant about it, but it's okay, I'll go back. And well, okay, I give up. I'll go back. So Bob took me to this river, and he told me that the river helps you to clean yourself and helps to keep you from remembering all the stuff that you're not supposed to remember. Because there were things that I guess I'm not supposed to remember, like the Egypt thing. Well, I dove into the river, came out the other side, out the bottom of it, and there was this trail. It was the glitter trail. It looked like glitter. It was all multicolored glitter. And I went down, followed the trail down to the earth, and I got back near where my body was, about like maybe a mile away from where my body was. And so I kind of flew. I was still flying. I was still my spirit. I was flying down the street, went all the way back to where my body was. And I could see, I didn't see my body. I was outside of the house. And when I was outside, I was watching the sun rise. And I could hear it rise, and I could feel it. It felt like way different than it did in normal times, like today. But I could feel it, and I thought, wow, this is great. Wow, look at all this stuff I know. Wow, this is gonna be cool. I'm gonna be good. I was all hyped up about it, And then I melted my way through the doorway of the house and saw my body there, and I thought, well, maybe I'll go back outside and explore, Then I thought about it. It's like, well, after all the stuff I know, learn about the dark souls and how they can try to waylay you and, all that kind of stuff. And maybe I might not want to do that. So I chose to stay. I kind of just melted back into my body. And the first thing I did was wiggle my fingers, look, turn my head, move my feet, make sure everything worked. And so everything worked, and I was like way, way high up in energy. It was like I never ever felt like that before. But I woke up my friends. This was like 5:30 in the morning. They were all passed out on the floor. I saw them, and I woke them up and said, "Guys, guess what happened? I went to this with the spirit, and we went all over the universe." It's like those guys are. Dude, no, you didn't. You were sitting in that chair all the whole night. You didn't go anywhere. Stop your crazy talk. And that's the one thing that I heard a lot after that was stop your crazy talk. And then when they said that to me, my energy started dwindling down. And so I left the house. I went to my house. My stepfather was up getting ready for work. And I thought about telling him, well, we didn't have that good a relationship, and he was one of the big factors in my life review too. And I wanted to tell him, but I didn't want to tell him. I was afraid to tell him, so I didn't tell him. And it ended up he was the person that I ended up did telling it to, but that was years later. But he went to work, and then during the day, I tried telling people about it. Just friends, people that I knew, and everybody was either laughed at me or, told me I was lying, things like that. And it's like, well, okay. I came back, got in the same frying pan I was in again. There was, all my past and everything was all still there. All my alcoholism still there. None of it went away. Still living in the same place, still hanging out with the same people, or potentially hanging out with the same people. And it was just, and then I had this big experience thing, and I had it, and it's like, well, what am I going to do with it? Nobody wants to know about it. It's just another thing that I have to deal with. So I put it aside. I tried to put it aside and just live my life. But then it never worked. I always thought about it since every day since. And, I tried to convince myself that, well, it was just a drug trip. That's all it was. It was all a bad trip. But then, the more I know about it, I went on bad trips. That's not what that was. I mean, if it was a drug trip, if LSD or whatever, I'd have been to Mushroom Mountain and I'd be singing daisies or giant angry chickens, but that's not what I saw. It wasn't a hallucination. Everything made sense. But yeah, it was quite an experience. There's more to it, probably. I tell more of it in my book because I sit down and I can write it and I can think about what I'm writing. It's kind of hard for me to tell it off the cuff like this.
Oh, that's okay. You did great.
But yeah, it was something.
So when you first passed out in the yard, I'm assuming your friends just dragged you in the house and threw you in that chair? That's
what I'm thinking. It had to have been, because that's the last place I remember I was. And this was this was probably, I'd say probably about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening. Sun was just starting to go down when I passed out on the lawn, and it was just coming up when I got back. So that gives you an idea about how long I was gone. But how long of that time I was actually gone, actually dead, I cannot tell you. But the whole experience lasted all through the whole, like I said, the timeline, like I said.
None of your friends thought that you were dead. They just thought you were passed out.
Well, I don't know for sure if they thought I was passed out. I tried. I really stopped hanging around them after, but I did go hang out with them one time, went and partied with them, and they were all concerned about me. They said, take his keys. No, don't give him anymore. No, don't let him. And it's like they tried to protect me because of that night. I'm very sure of it, but nobody wanted to talk to me about it. None of them. None of them. And I was even told before I came back that when we were in the garden, I was told that I had a friend that was going to die from drunk driving and that I was going to be a part of it. And I didn't want to be a part of it. And I told my friend, I said, look, I was told that you're going to die in a drunk driving accident. He said, oh, stop your crazy talk. Well, the day he died, saw him at the liquor store. And I told him, dude, don't. Something's gonna happen to you. And sure enough, about 3 hours later, wrapped his car around the telephone pole and died.
Wow.
And then after that, it was at his funeral where I decided it's like, no. I'm just gonna, no, this is too hot for me. I'm not gonna, no, I don't want it anymore. And I got angry about it too. It's like, why? Why me again? I keep saying that, but no, I couldn't believe that would happen, and I couldn't do anything about it. That's what struck me at the funeral. It's like I knew it was going to happen, but I couldn't do anything about it. I wish I could have, but.
I believe that you had said that you had went to church or religious school before, and since you met Jesus, did you feel like this was a religious experience or a spiritual experience?
It was more of a spiritual experience. There was no mention of, the devil or the Bible. There were no pearly gates. There wasn't anything like that in my experience. And it actually, I think about it a lot. And I'm wondering if the light that I was supposed to go to was the light that Bob took me to. And the place that I went to after that, where I had my life review, was a different place. I mean, it felt like what I would think heaven would feel, but I'm not even sure really if it was heaven. Maybe it wasn't. It could have been anything. I mean, after 40 years, of thinking about it, there's, tend to overthink it maybe sometimes. I don't know.
So can you still remember the experience vividly today, or is it faded at all?
It's faded a little bit. Well, what's helped me with it was I had it in me, okay, and I started chatting in the AOL Metaphysics chat room, and I started sharing some of the insights that I saw, like pick your parents, all kind of stuff like that. And I ended up, I wanted to write it down because people asked me questions and I could never tell the story in the room. So I wanted to write it down. And then I asked Bob for help to write it down. I just asked him, Bob, please help me to remember. And then I started writing it down. And I just wrote, and just went through that. And I ended up writing the whole, pretty much the whole thing. It wasn't all of it. It wasn't the beginning. It wasn't the end. It was just the meat of it. And I sent it to this woman whose son was dying. She wanted to know what happened in my experience. So I kind of wrote that for her, and I sent it to her. And then she sent it to Kevin Williams at the Near Death Experience in the Afterlife website. This was in '97. And he put it on his site, and then everything just kind of grew from there. I got lots of emails from people, questions and everything. And that's what made me decide to write the book, was because, I had that and people wanted to know more. I just used that, made a beginning, made an end, and, it's better. It's a lot edited more and everything. It's, the book is way better than I wrote it. It tells the whole thing. But if you really want the base of everything, it's on Kevin Williams' website in an exceptional NDE section. It's, it basically tells the whole story short.
Right. I think you said you saw beings like you and beings like Bob. So did you look different from Bob? And if you did, how so? How would you distinguish each other?
Well, we looked the same, except he was more intense, like way more intense than me. I had just like the basic structure that he had, but he was like more grander in scale. He looked way awesome. I wish I could look like that, and maybe I will when I'm done.
Since the experience, I feel like you've communicated with Bob, at least helping you write the book. Have you communicated with Bob any other times? Even just like asking Bob for help for something in your life?
I did ask him for help for this interview. I do ask him. I try not to. He's not a toy, and I can't treat him like a toy. I mean, I got to treat him with the respect that he deserves. And if I ask him something, it better be something that I really want to know, not something that's going to waste his time or whatever. Right. Like, I'm not going to ask him. I'll ask him stuff like, should I write the book? I asked him that for a long time, for a couple of years, before I wrote my first book. I asked him every day on my way to work, gee, should I really write this? Gee, should I really write this? And every time came back in a snap, yes. Sometimes you could, well, why wouldn't you? He asked me that too. And it got me thinking, okay, why wouldn't I? It's like, well, because I don't want nobody to know. I don't want no one to think I'm crazy, all that stuff. But none of that matters.
It appeared that Bob knew a lot of the details of your life. Do you think that Bob is with you all the time, or he can just tap into your memories and know everything about you?
He's with me all the time, but I do think he has other people. I do think he takes care of other people too, not just me. But he's there for me all the time. But he's not. I'm sure I'm not his only charge.
Right. Let me ask you this: is there any part of your NDE that you normally don't like to share publicly, but you're willing to share today?
Just stuff from the life review, really. A lot of the stuff with the uncle. I mean, it was bad stuff. It really affected my life. It really affected everybody's life, and I'd rather just kind of leave it at that. From the experience, I kind of had a little got better with it because of the experience. It's like, it kind of took some of the pain away and some of the anger away, but the stuff was still there, but it took some of it away.
So you said that you saw the pyramids as they originally were, but then they were still in a modern Cairo, Egypt city around it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you remember or learn or share with us what the purpose of the pyramids are?
The purpose, they had to do with the energy. There's kind of like the vortexes, and they're set in the certain spots that the way they are, so that they can be kind of like an antenna of some sort. Like it'll beam the energy out and it'll take the energy in. I think also they might have been. I don't think that we built those.
Right.
I really don't think we did. And that has to do, and another thing, about the planets with all the other spirits on them. Maybe that's what we consider what aliens are.
Right. At least they
that you can't see them.
Right.
And maybe, I thought about stuff like that, stuff like this too. Like, well, maybe I am an alien. Maybe that was my home planet that I went to for my life review.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you say that. There are people now that believe that this is their first time incarnating on Earth, and their last past life wasn't here. It was on another planet somewhere else.
Yeah, I've read that too. I read that. When I read it, it's like, wow, that's what I was shown. There's a lot of stuff is like that. A lot of stuff. It's just like there's some books too that I've read, like the Celestine Prophecy I've read, and that had to do with energy and how it interact with each other. And when I read it, it's like, well, that's what I was shown too. And it helped me to understand a little bit better what I was shown. And I get these little tidbits that come, off and on, from time to time, from Facebook groups and things like that. And some will trigger a memory or trigger an answer. Someone's asking a question. I'll think about it, and it'll just trigger a memory for it and help me to answer their question.
You mentioned along the way that the energy was better outside of the cities, and it was worse in the cities. At least I think you mentioned something like that. And if so, do you think it's better to live, in a small town or outside the city on land or something?
Oh, no, absolutely. Just away from the urban centers, just away. Like I live in the suburbs, and it's not Detroit. It's totally different. And I live in a small town, but it's still in the suburbs. Just a small size town in a big metro area. But that's where I live in, and it's different. My town is different because it's mostly all residential. There's no, like when I grew up, the neighborhood I grew up in, there were factories across the street from the school I went to. We used to go play in those factories all the time, in them, on them, around them. There was this field that was in between all the factories, right in the center of the factories. And it was like trees, it wasn't the construction sites. It wasn't the houses all being built up everywhere. And so we thought, well, it's kind of like the woods. We'll go there, We went there and played, and this, of course, the same thing happened, with that as everything else. Just got all bastardized in the end. But yeah, we used to go there. There was the projects were about 2 blocks away from me. We just settled right there in this little neighborhood by the factories, projects, and all the rest of the bad neighborhood. I lived in Warren, which is borders on Detroit, and it's there's a border is 8 Mile Road, and that used to be no go after 8 Mile Road. They don't go on the other side into Detroit, stay in the suburbs. And in the 60s, where I live was a extremely racist place. Extremely, everybody's racist there. And it was like, we lived in a white neighborhood, and the reason the white neighborhood was white was because we kept it white. We didn't let people live there. And that's how it was. That's another thing too that I learned about myself and my NDEs. Like, well, how can you be like that, Dave? To people, how can you these guys would deliver circulars from the newspaper, from the grocery stores, and they go from house to house and deliver them. And sometimes they were black. And it's like, no, all of a sudden you got 4 or 5 guys following you. You better run. And that's how it was. That's how it was when I grew up. This is the kind of stuff that we did. Now the neighborhood I live in now is 20 miles to the west. And it's totally different. I mean, the houses aren't piled on top of each other. I got nice 2 acres of land. I got a creek that's in the backyard. I got, everything is 5 minutes away from me, everything. And I like the nature. I like having the 2 acres. I have my own space out in the back where I go, just by the creek, where I go and sit in the summertime. It's where I wrote my book. I love it. I just love it out there. Every time I go out there, I feel just so much better. If I'm feeling sad or something, I'll go out there and sit, take my dog out there, and take my computer and do my activities online.
Did Bob give you a purpose, or did you discover some purpose or reason?
It took me a while to figure out what that purpose was. Another thing, one of the things that Bob told me about when we were on the bench in the garden, he said that I was going to be sick, and I would, and things would happen 20 years later for me. And I also find out 20 years later that I have bipolar disorder. And that was after just personal. I tried to kill myself in 2004. I tried to asphyxiate myself because of my bipolar life and how I was going up and down all the time. Nobody knew which David they were going to get, and I didn't like it anymore. I ended up getting into this big blowout. And then I said, well, no, I want to go home now. So went in the garage, turned on the car, and it was just a half-hearted attempt. There's no way I could have died in that garage with the window out of it and stuff, but I tried. And I ended up going to this mental hospital for 3 days. And I tried to tell them why I wanted to do what I did. I tried to tell them, and I told them about my experience too. And after that, then it was like, okay, here's a bunch of medication for you, David. And I went home, I took it. There's a whole bunch of medication, and then I got it down to 3, but I don't swing anymore. I don't swing. I don't go from the extreme to extreme. I stay in the middle. I go up and down just like everybody else, but it's all under control. And that's part of controlling my energy. That's another thing Bob told me that I need to do when I was on the bench in the garden was I need to control my energy. I need to learn how to do that. And that's one of my purposes. And I've pretty much done that. I got the bipolar stuff under control. The alcoholism is under control, and I'm good.
That's great. If you met somebody who had an NDE yesterday and they asked you for advice, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, tell me what happened to you. I will listen to you. That's what I would tell them. That's what I wish somebody would have told me. So that's why.
I think it's great. What are the most impactful things that you've learned during your experience that you still remember today that you may use in your life?
About the energy and about interacting with everybody. I mean, I try to think about what they would think about me. Wait, that's not what I was trying to say. Almost though. I try to think about and treat them how I would want to be treated, and how what I do with them, how that's going to come back, because I know it's going to come back. And that kind of helps me to behave, I guess.
Right. I would assume that since you learned in your life review how some of the stuff that you did that was, wrong, I guess you could say, how it impacted other people, that, you learned from that now when you come back, you don't want to kind of commit those acts anymore.
Right. Like I stopped hanging around with those friends. I ended up meeting my wife, and she made me get rid of those guys all the rest of the way. And that was very helpful. I mean, she took charge when we met. She took charge, and she wanted things a certain way, and I had to do this. If I wanted to be with her, I had to make it a certain way. So I had to change a little bit, and I changed a little bit. Now finally, I'm I don't think I'm done, but I'm not going to change all that much anymore.
Did you end up having a child that I think you said was different or something that you were shown by Bob?
Yes, I have an autistic child. He's an adult now. He takes care of himself, but he's going to be with us.
Oh, that's great.
There's no driving for him. We tried. It's not going to work. You just can't. You don't have the attention span for it. That's the same thing. I have attention problems too. That's another problem that I have. But for me to get over stuff, it was the alcoholism I really needed to get over,
Right.
and the bipolar disorder.
Did you have any other prophetic like things that you saw or learned and then they come to pass in the future?
Only personal things. Only just like where I would live. Just he said, I asked him where I would live, and he showed me this place, and it was all woods, and it was close to where I was living. It kind of fit the description of where I'm at now, because I wanted to know when I was going to be back. So who knows? I might not.
So at this point in your life, do you fear death at all?
No, I don't know. I could die, and it could be. It would be okay. I'm not afraid of it, but I am afraid of going back there and not being able to say I was more positive than negative. That's what I'm afraid of. I mean, going back, fine, I'll do it. But
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. All right, well, I got to switch gears here. The name of your book is called Soul Bared, right?
Yeah, Soul Bared, a Metaphysical Journey.
And where can you get that at?
Amazon has it. So if you want to buy it, there's a Kindle book, there's a paperback. Other ways that you can read it. I would just like people to read the story. The book is the book. If people buy it, they buy it. If they don't, they don't. What I really recommend though is the story is at soulbared.com. The whole story is there. The whole book, just as it is in the book, it's there. I keep it there. That's where I send people if they want to read it. It's free. Wow, you can do it at your own time.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I don't know that I'm going to make any big money from this. I've had books for a long time, and they never made any money, and it's not what my focus is. My focus is I want to help someone and know that they've been helped, and have them feel that they've been helped and be happy about it, and seeing it all over again. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing that you offer it for free, because when you do go back, you may discover that you've done a lot of positive, even more positive than you could possibly imagine, just having it out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I get lots of people read it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you have your website too, called soulbared.com.
Yep. Soulbared.com.
Are you on social media? And if so, if people want to reach out to you, are you public or do you tend to stay private?
So far as the near-death experience goes in my life, I try to keep those separate. Right. I try to keep my near-death experience activities into the groups on Facebook. It's just, I just like it better that way, because there's a lot of people that I know that I am public with it that way in the groups. But there's a lot of people that I know in my regular life that I'd rather not they know about it, because it just caused problems.
Right. All right. So let me ask you this. Do you have any other projects that you're working on that you want people to know about?
Yes, actually, we've been working on an audio presentation, an audio book type of a thing. I got a guy that has a really, really nice voice. He's read it for me, and he's put it in MP3s. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with that yet, or what I even can do with it. So that's been a project it's at least read now and done. I don't know. It's for the next level.
Right.
We'll see how that comes, how it turns out. It sounds really good, but I don't know all the technical stuff. But yeah, that is a thing that I'm doing that is in the works.
Right. Well, I think
I don't know what else to do with it.
I would assume you could try to put it on Amazon or something, like or wherever else they put on.
It would be. It's a process. I've looked into it. There's a lot of technical things involved with the files that have to be a certain way, and I understand just a little bit of it, but then it just gets too much for me. I'd have to have somebody else to try it.
All right.
Or I could try it, but it'd take me a long time. me not knowing what I'm doing. It'd be easier just to have someone who knows what to do and do it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, before we wrap it up here, do you have one last message that you could share to the audience?
Well, we have to save this planet. We have to keep it. It's ours. We're supposed to be here. We have to take care of it. And the answer to that, for what I know, is love one another and all be well. If we do that, then we can fix things and make this place a more positive place, and make it so that it's more positive and just a better place for us. I mean, it's our home. We're supposed to be here. And lately I've been thinking that this is the place we're supposed to be, and this is what our home is supposed to be. The other place is just prep for this. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I was thinking recently, is it possible that humans are really not supposed to get involved with space travel or go anywhere else? We're just meant to be here.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I think space is a good thing. I mean, I would like to. We could learn more. I think they're going to find that there was actually life that we could actually see with our low vibration there before. Oh. I truly believe that.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious. All right. Well, Dave, I really appreciate you being on my podcast. I wish you massive success with your book. I hope you make big money from it someday. I hope you get this book on your audible.com or wherever you can get the Audible version of it. I think that would be great for you. And I just wish you the best.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
Have a great evening and enjoy your night.
You too. Good night.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.